Welcome back to the How Did You Get Here podcast, where we find out exactly how inspirational people got to where they are today. And don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button so you can see more of our content. On today's podcast, we have the incredibly successful director of Lightbox Digital Marketing Agency. This chap's got an insane amount of accolades to his name. So he's not just the director of the digital marketing agency Lightbox, but he is also the co-founder of Love Brum. He's also on the advisory board for the BPS and also TEDx, and on top of that, English Schools Football Club. Plus, he's the director of Birmingham Law Society, and if that wasn't enough, he is also an ex-Big Brother contestant.
Oh no, you got that in.
Wow.
Yeah, a bit of a mouthful. Not all of them are up to date. I'm not a director at the Birmingham Law Society anymore, but it was a great experience. Yeah, hello. Thank you for having me on.
No, pleasure. Thank you for coming.
Not at all.
Obviously, like I said, you've got a wealth of experience in a lot of different things. So
yeah, it's been a journey. A journey. I'm only 21 years old. Look how tired I look. Yeah, you know what? I think a lot of it is down to the fact that, you know, we talk about how did you get here. I've been finding my feet for the last 10 years. I think, you know, I've always been asked, or very lucky to be asked to do things. Yeah. And I'm always willing to help. I think moving forwards, I need to probably make sure that I'm doing the 2 or 3 things that make me really happy, that, you know, pay the bills, obviously. Yeah. And I think I've found that now with the likes of Lightbox, and I'm still doing a lot of work with Love Brum and all my other little bits and bobs that keep me sort of agile around, you know, what's going on in the world, you know, learning new skills, all that sort of stuff. So I'm feeling very tired, but very blessed and very lucky with my lot at the moment. I really am.
That's amazing. Where did it all start? Because obviously you've done such a lot and they're all so varied, but so kind of high achieving at the same time. Where did it kind of start? Where's your drive come from?
Really interesting, actually. I think that sort of rich fabric of things that I do comes from the fact that I didn't really ever know what I wanted to do. So at school, I always thought I was going to be a footballer. Yeah. And I'm talking about 6 stone ago, obviously. But yeah, I went to a footballing school. I played at a very good standard. I genuinely thought and was told that I was going to be a professional footballer. And when that didn't happen at 16, you know, I didn't really know what to do. Mm-hmm. I was predicted straight A's. I'm a careers advisor as well. Why don't you be a lawyer? Now, the chap in front of me in the careers advisory queue, he'd been told that he could be a deep sea diver. So I thought, hang on, law sounds all right. And that's genuine, by the way. There was a program on the telly at the time called Ally McBeal. And I thought law was all about dancing and having a party, basically. Yeah. I entertained law I was a lawyer for 7 years. So I went to university to do law, went to law school to do my LPC, and then I qualified into a firm, quite a big firm in Birmingham. Mm-hmm. And then I practiced for 3 other big firms in Birmingham for 7 years, but I just didn't enjoy it. Just really did not enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Probably what was representative of that was the fact that I did do that Big Brother show. Yeah. Because they asked me to do that whilst I was at law school. And I think, if I'm honest, if I was genuinely wanting to do have a career in law at that time, I probably wouldn't have taken the risk that Big Brother brought. Yeah. Luckily for me, you know, it was a great experience. I may be remembered for things that I want to forget, but equally, I was 20 years old, and you know, we all have fun when you're that young and single and what have you. But equally, it did, with hindsight, give me so many experiences and transferable skills, and without sounding too deep, it actually did give me a lot of time to reflect and really think about what I wanted to do. Yeah. It made me realise who was important in my life, etc. So after that experience, I then not only had that learning to take with me, but I also had an opportunity to, dare I say, have a glimpse into what it was like to be famous. That's all I can say. You know, I had a very small glimpse into what it must be like to be like the Brad Pitts of this world. Not looking, but like, you know, that it was just amazing. You know, it was really fast way of living, but awesome. You know, it was down in London. I was partying. I was on the front of OK magazine, as you do. I had a radio show. Obviously got the face for radio and all that. That's the joke. But yeah, the experiences that brought me were also so diversified and different that actually I probably just added to that confusion of what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
3 years having lived off Big Brother, for want of a better word, and being exposed to all those brilliant experiences and opportunities.
Yeah.
I did go back into law. I did think it was the right thing to do. It gives you a little bit of kudos, I suppose, to be a lawyer, you know. And I thought, well, why not? At that stage, I'd done a degree, I'd done my law school.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was nothing else really for me to do. So off the back of that, again, I'm very fortunate to have worked for the firms that I did. But it wasn't the way I wanted to live. Money wise, it was great.
Yeah.
It did afford me a nice living.
Yeah.
And that was difficult to give up. But equally, I was literally going into work depressed. I don't know whether you've ever had that, but
I have. Yeah.
It's not good, is it?
It completely dims your light, doesn't it? And you just, you get Sunday dread, and you're kind of like, why? Yeah. You're like, why am I doing this to myself? But you end up getting on this like, almost like this just monotonous wheel. Yeah,
it was, and I found I was there for too long, so I had to make a decision to do something.
Yeah,
I didn't know what that was until I became a dad, and you find the heart that you never thought you had.
Yeah,
start crying at John Lewis adverts and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
and I stumbled across this journey of this boy who was, without getting depressed and depressing this conversation. Bless him, he had a brain tumor and he was dying. And he was an amazing kid. He was called Harry Moseley, and he was creating these celebrities celebrities. He was creating these bracelets that celebrities were wearing, and he was selling them at supermarkets and what have you to raise money for cancer.
Wow.
He knew he was dying, but he wanted to make sure no one else was going to go through that again. He was such a strong lad. Now, I never got to meet him personally.
Yeah.
But I followed his story all the way to his death, unfortunately. I think he was only 9 years old, 10 years old, something like that.
Jeez.
I just felt like I need to do something. So I reached out to his mum, who was still fundraising, albeit mourning, of course.
Yeah.
And I just said, look, I want to help. I was into my golf. I thought I'd do a little bit of a golf event or what have you.
Yeah.
And that just literally sort of snowballed into, a sellout, a black tie event at the ICC. 1,000 people attended. We raised over £100,000. And that legacy remains. That it was the Harry Moseley charity ball that I and my friend Tim Andrews set up.
Yeah.
And that's still going despite us not being part of the charity anymore. But that journey led on to so many things. I mentioned Tim there. I was struggling at the time to do everything. I was still working in law, coming home, trying to arrange this charity ball, do everything else. I was a young father.
Yeah.
All that. Not so young father, had a young son.
Yeah.
And and it was just getting too much. So I reached out on Facebook for somebody to help me.
Yeah.
And Tim Andrews, who's now an MBE actually, we'll come on to that in a minute. He reached out and said, look, I'll give you a hand. So, and he did. He was massively helpful. And me and him did a number of things for the Harry Moseley charity. It's called Help Harry Help Others. That raised hundreds of thousands of pounds. And it really gave me and him a real appetite for charity and fundraising.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't make any money from that.
No.
But it was giving me more than a career in the law was. It was making me sleep easier at night. It made me feel better as a person. It gave me a real sort of desire to help. Now, that obviously wasn't going to pay the bills. So through that, another opportunity came through my network. I met some really nice people. They said, why don't you come into the digital space? Now, I didn't really know much about it, to be fair. And equally, I've never been technical. It was always in like a biz dev sort of role or capacity.
Yeah.
And that's went from there, really. I've ended up owning my own business called Blake 7, which merged with Lightbox about 4 years ago now. and Lightbox is doing really, really well. I'm very proud of what Lightbox does. But yeah, back to Tim Andrews. When me and him stopped being a trustee of the cancer charity, we decided at that stage we'd done enough for a while, and we were just going to concentrate on our businesses.
Yeah.
He's a successful business guy. He owns a company called Hollywood Monster, a big signage company, amongst other little bits and bobs. And that's where Love Brum was born.
Right.
Me, him, and a chap called Dave McLean. We all met up in a local pub. And about 12 pints later, we'd registered this domain, lovebrum.org.uk, with an idea of creating some sort of movement for a better Birmingham.
Yeah.
I'd come back from London. Tim's a massive brummie, so is Dave. We were massively, like, almost fanatic around the city.
Yeah.
And about the city, and quite angry when we saw things go to London and Manchester. Not because we don't like the cities, but just because Birmingham, I feel, is brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, we've got brilliant talent, brilliant businesses.
It is.
I mean, look where we are today. You know, it's amazing, and a lot of hidden gem businesses, which then led into this idea of actually what we should be doing is unearthing hidden gem charities and projects. Those projects that, you know, go out and do all the brilliant things that they're doing in Birmingham without the platform from which to sing and dance about those things.
Yeah.
So then, you know, probably after about a year of going out to the likes of Oxbridge and all the other people that we trusted to see whether there was something in Love Brum, and us getting a resounding yes.
Yeah.
Love Brum has now, 6 years later, become, I would say, one of the leading charities in Birmingham. You know, not only shining a light on all these brilliant projects and then funding these projects that are doing brilliant things in the city. I mean, tangible outcome stuff, you know, like they're all generally volunteer-led projects making a real change. It's also connecting businesses with businesses with charities, business like employees with volunteering opportunities. And I think the whole movement of that better Birmingham that we initially wanted to create does now exist because it's doing so many things to enable that conversation. Whilst also, I think, genuinely making sure that Brummies are prouder than we used to be, you know, banging our chest, making sure that we're on the map. And then, you know, I'm not saying creating other platforms that have done that, but certainly encouraging other platforms to do that. You know, the likes of I Choose Birmingham, Independent Birmingham, you know, all these brilliant forums, community groups, whatever it might be, that are shouting loudly about how good Birmingham is.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's just great to be part of that.
Absolutely. I don't think Birmingham's definitely doing it more than they've ever done before.
Yeah, completely.
Because I think in the UK, it's always been kind of either a London or a Manchester thing. And Birmingham always used to get missed a lot.
Yeah, completely. I mean, we lost out to, and this is with the greatest respect, 'cause I've been there, but we lost out to Hull, you know, in the City of Culture one year. You know, it's like, it shouldn't happen.
No.
It really shouldn't. And despite all that brilliant work by our mayor, by our businesses, by our leaders, I still think the region is overlooked. I really do think that. I still think we've got a long way to be next to the likes of Manchester.
Yeah.
And I think that's because I do feel that we're still not as proud as we should be.
Yeah.
And I can't really put my finger on it more than that. I think Manchester are very good at talking about how good they are. I still think we need to improve in that area.
Yeah, I think from what I can tell as well, they've been doing it for a longer period.
Yeah.
And I think their community is a lot more joined together at the minute.
Yeah.
But I think that's come with time.
Yeah, completely.
And I think Birmingham will get there.
I hope so, because I still do see people like talent go off to London, and I've done that, so I can't deny them that neither.
Yeah.
And I also accept that London is the epicenter of our economy.
Yeah.
But because I'm a proud Brummie, you probably picked that up in my dulcet tones. I still really want to just hand them a mug of tea every morning whilst they're making their commute, going, "You're going the wrong way, mate.
Yeah.
You know, stay here. This is where we should be." And again, you know, I'm not here to promote certain companies or anything, but I keep looking down at this awesome, I can't name the brand, but obviously Oxbridge.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we are celebrating those hidden gem companies. Not many people would know about Oxbridge, you know, because they are a well-known brand in Birmingham. But equally, Birmingham could potentially talk more about businesses like that to show how well they're doing.
Yeah.
Because people looking in, whether it be for internal, external investment, whatever it might be, would naturally not see these sort of businesses that are growing so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they see the Gymsharks, of course, and they're absolutely brilliant. The lounge underwear, absolutely awesome businesses.
Yeah.
But they're also backed up by brilliant businesses like this that are just going from strength to strength.
Yeah, it's businesses that are trying to make a change, like a change to support the community, I guess, and without plugging ourselves too much on this podcast. Obviously, that's what we're about, is trying to support the community.
Well, I can second that. Matt and yourself and all your team have always supported Love Brum, and that's because it stands for a lot of the values that you try and stand for as well. There's not many businesses that I know in Birmingham that support charities as much as Oxbridge do. So fair play to you.
Cheers. Bring it back to you. When you kind of your school days, what were they like? Do you feel like school helped you with your future, or do you think it was not until the kind of the experiences that you came across later in life that helped you get to where you are now? And do you think schools today, do you think they're letting us down, or do you think they need to change? Or
I don't know too much about the education system other than what I've seen around universities, schools that I'm recently looking at for my son, Blake. What I can see, and I'm sure you'd agree, is there's a massive difference. Well, you might not agree as much as me because I'm a lot older than you. But when I was at school, there were no entrepreneurial courses or business classes. It was, the closest we got to business was IT, and that was nothing more than word art and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I did a talk at Aston University the other day, and I literally walked into like 150 kids, and they were in the entrepreneurial degree class or something. And literally there's no lectures, there's no filling in forms, there's no document, essays to do. They literally they're put into businesses. Like they form their own businesses from day one. And then they have the support from their lecturers and their tutors as to how they grow those businesses, employ within those businesses, brand those businesses. And literally I spoke to, as I said, about 150 students, and I'd say about 100 of them had their own business already. We're talking 19, 20, 21-year-olds.
That's incredible.
It really is. And that is great to see. And you're seeing that now trickle down into primary school as well, secondary school. I was talking to a couple of local schools recently about my son Blake, and they obviously understand and appreciate and respect that discipline education gives these children. But I think there's also a better lean around the fact that not every kid is going to be a doctor. Not every child needs to be a lawyer. And not every child needs to be a straight A student to succeed.
Absolutely.
If anything, my education with hindsight hamstrung me because I was on paper a clever kid. So really they just almost documented me into a professional career. It was either medicine or law. When in fact they probably didn't spend much time with me to see if I had any sort of entrepreneurial flair. Although to be fair, I must admit, I can't blame my teachers back then because I was a real shy kid, really, really socially awkward. Massively. I was like, I still do get really nervous about situations like this. Big time. I'm probably the loudest in a networking event, but equally the most nervous. And that's just something my dad told me. Well, it wasn't his fault, but I was that socially awkward as a kid. What helped me was football, for one. I went to a real, it was a great school, but quite rough around the edges because it was a football school. Yeah. So you had proper lads, many of them are still very close friends of mine. So that helped me a little bit get out of my comfort zone. But what really enabled it was when I went to university, my dad said, right, son, you can be whoever you want now. And I went full circle, sort of all right, mate. So I was almost putting London accents on, to be this lad, all right, girls, sort of thing, just to try and get me in the room. And that sort of has stayed with me. And it does help because I'm able to have the conversations that inside I'm like really panicky about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I suppose I can't blame my teachers for thinking I would be an entrepreneur back then, because I was quite, I'd be classed as a geek, for want of a better word. I was in the library a lot. I was asking for extra homework. But I think the teachers nowadays would see that intelligence or that commitment or that determination as something special elsewhere potentially. Look how hard he works. Look how his work ethic. Look at his punctuality, and those skills are very transferable into being, a money-making change maker, entrepreneur, whatever we want to call them.
Yeah, wow. I mean, it's very evident. I mean, for me, I would have never known until you've just said that you were a shy kid at school.
Yeah.
Because the PJ that I know is kind of like super confident.
Yeah.
Like has a lot of presence when you walk in the room. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So do you think that's kind of as well? Do you think some of the stuff, the experience that, because what's crazy is you've said that to me, but then you went into a situation where you're literally, the limelight couldn't be more on you.
Yeah.
Going into the likes of Big Brother.
Yeah.
Like that must have just been.
Well, I really struggled because I was playing this alpha male, and then when I was met with real alpha males, I became the complete opposite. So at times, I then almost had to make a decision. Some days I was completely quiet and you never saw me. Yeah. And then other days you saw everything, all of me.
Yeah.
It was quite interesting because the best thing about Big Brother is the experience you have after it. And that they show you all these sort of like charts, almost like, what you can imagine X Factor does now when they're marking up people's skills and attributes and expectations. And I was the favourite to win the show because they'd put every man's man. So, and I was, what does that mean? He was like, well, you've got, you could talk to the kids in the library, or you could talk to the lads that are beating people up on the playground, sort of thing, because of the experience I had so young. And I think, with reflection, Big Brother did a lot more to, for me than people might think. And I do need to rein things in. I do think sometimes I can play the party boy too much.
Yeah.
I'm already thinking of my dad watching this, caning me for putting myself down. I put myself down quite a bit. Okay. My size, my head, whatever it might be. And I think that's just protecting myself from this position. It makes me feel a little bit safer, when in fact, if I was talking, which I do, I talk to a lot of young entrepreneurs, and one of my main tips would be to always believe in yourself. That's the first thing you need to accept, that you are good, that you can change people's lives or businesses, because other people are, and if you don't, they will.
Yeah. So I guess in a way that the message to kind of young entrepreneurs that are probably watching this, or people that wanting to change their life and their career, is that really clarifying what success looks like for them.
100%. Sorry to talk over you, but 100%. I think, and it's not necessarily money. Money does help. Don't get me wrong. It sort of gives you more options, but I think if you chase money, it never comes as quick as you think, unless you get very lucky,
or at all.
Or at all. And I think if you then constantly wake up, and that's your drive, well, then you're going to get disappointed, because it's not going to come as quick as those friends that have, leased that Lamborghini for the day on Instagram, and all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I want a Lambo. I've had my business for a day. Why can't I have a Gallardo? That will come, guys. Trust me, that will come. Work hard. That's my first tip. It's not easy. Ben Francis. I can imagine. I've met him a couple of times. He's not. I wouldn't say he's a friend, like as in I know him like that. But I've met him. He's Jim Shark are a big supporter of Love Brum. So thank you if you're listening. He still had to work hard. It's not just his click to fingers, and the likes of Paul and Steve have got around him, and he's made a gazillion pounds. He's a switched on guy, and the team around him are super switched on.
Yeah. But
he still had to work hard. He was still sewing labels into the back of his t-shirts whilst working at Pizza Hut or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I think the access that these kids do have to information can sometimes burden them because they do think that you can get rich very quickly and
Overnight.
very easily.
Yeah, it's one of the worst things I see a lot of online is these gurus that claim that they can, get rich overnight sort of schemes, and it's madness really, because they don't understand the level of work and commitment and the graft, and the blood, sweat and tears you have to do daily to get to those levels. Yeah,
and if you're doing that whilst you know what your happiness or your success looks like, i.e. happiness to me is not me personally, but if it's playing golf twice a week, if it's going to be able to spend time with your mum more often, and that brings you that happiness and success whilst you grafting, live with it. Because how cool is that? You imagine 9 to 5, you can't take your mum out on a Wednesday for a glass of wine or a bite to eat. But if you can do that whilst you're making a living and you're learning and you're meeting new people and you're making wise choices. Yeah. That's not that always that easy. Appreciate that. And then the other stuff will follow.
100%. I think that one of the things that is really important to always understand as well is that, which I've always been told by my parents, is that find something that you really love and that you're passionate about, and then follow that. And then if you so happen to be able to make money from that and be able to make a living from it, then you're never going to work a day in your life, because you're always going to, it's never going to feel like work.
Great advice, great advice. And, I think always look at things that, giving back for me is really important. Matt and Stacey at Oxbridge and you and your team, you're constantly giving back. I think to me, that's really important. I think that you get so much from that. If you're doing it for something else, I don't, it's not authentic, but if you are authentically involved and invested in making people happier, or if you're able to, that sort of feeling of self-worth, it just has a knock-on effect on everything. It's like going to the gym. I was just talking to you earlier about putting myself down, but genuinely I haven't been to the gym for a while. You can probably tell, right?
Me neither.
Yeah, it's one of those, But you never go to the gym and finish that thinking, oh, I feel flat, I feel rubbish. It's always a great feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you can grab onto something that gives you that feeling, stick with it, because all the other stuff, as I said, just starts falling into place. It really does.
Yeah.
Social media, try and think about how you use that effectively. Is it do you want to be informed? Do you want to be educated? Or do you want to scroll? If it's the latter, I've lost hours and hours doing that. Hours.
Yeah.
Where I could have learned so much more through social media.
It's a dangerous game, isn't it? It's one of those that you can get lost in completely.
Yeah, completely. One minute you're listening to a podcast by Stephen Bartley, and the next you're looking at a tiger eating a shark. It's like, and you're probably spending more time on the latter, aren't you? Sorry, Stephen. But it's bizarre. Social media is very powerful. Just try and make sure you're using it in the right way.
Absolutely. What do you think is the best motivational advice you could give to somebody that's maybe in a position where they're maybe stuck in the same routine and they want to change, but they might be afraid to? And they might be afraid to take that leap and of faith and follow their dreams. What would your motivational advice be?
I think it would just ask people for help. Just talk to people that, going back to social media briefly, I think people like that who have questions of certain people would be surprised about how often they'd get responses from those people that they didn't think they'd get responses from. I.e., if someone wants to go into build out an ed platform or ed tech company, and he looks at Matt Jones and he thinks, oh, I'd love to be like Matt. I wouldn't know what to do though. Honestly, if you sent him a LinkedIn, Matt would probably reply. Stacey would as well, So, and I just think sometimes where I remember I didn't wanting to be a lawyer and I wanted to do something else. I used to ask all the people that inspired me for help. What would you do? How did you do it? Rob Pollard, my now business partner, one of my favourite people in the world, and I got around him And, you know, we used to ask each other advice, what would you do? Got close that way. And out of that came a respect. Out of that came a trust. Out of that came the opportunity for my business to merge with his. And now we're both better off for it because we're together rather than playing silos. I mean, if I hadn't got Lightbox and Rob and all my team when lockdown hit, and it was me, and I had a small team at Blake 7, I genuinely don't think I would have got through it as easy as I didn't think it wasn't easy, but as well as I did. It was still a struggle, but you know. So I think definitely don't jump into something without making, you know, a real conscious decision around, you know, if you've got bills to pay, you know, make sure. I mean, Rob Pollard actually, he was working about 50. He set Lightbox up 15 years ago. And he had this dilemma. He was working as a product engineer or something, a designer, and he desperately wanted to go and set his own business up. So he just worked as hard as he could to save 3 months' salary, for want of a better word. So he knew then he'd have a good go at something for 3 months. So it's not exactly rocket science, but it gave him that sort of cushion or safety blanket, whatever it might be, to make sure, right, the next 3 months I'm going to be able to eat, I'm going to be able to have a roof over my head, I'm going to be able to pay my bills, I'm going to be able to give this Lightbox thing an absolute go. 15 years later, you know, he's doing all right. So be sensible, but also follow your dreams. If they go together, I don't know.
No, perfect. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I want to ask you a few other questions now, just in terms of kind of the overcoming things like failure and like, for obviously from a motivational point of view, we move on to kind of what happens when that feeling of when you've tried to attempt something and then you approach failure and you fail at something, and how would you kind of, what advice would you give to kind of know how to pick yourself back up again and how to deal with failure? What would your advice be on how to deal with failure?
It's interesting, isn't it? I think I've failed. I've definitely failed. I had a few businesses whilst I was still thinking about what to do, from wedding videos to development golf tours, you know, whatever it might be. And that was through people that come to me to help commercialize their business and all this sort of stuff. And I thought it was the next best thing. But they did give me lessons. And hindsight's a wonderful thing. But what I would say to someone that fails, as long as, whatever failure looks like, I guarantee that when they're successful, they will probably post a social media post about all those other people that have failed. You see them all the time. Henry Ford failed 1 million times. Walt Disney was, you know, failed 400 million times until he you know what I mean? So appreciate and remember that we're only humans. We always make mistakes. I've probably made 3 today. I don't know what they are, but if I sit down tonight, I think, I shouldn't have probably had chips with the meal, or whatever it might be. I just realised as a learn. You know, there's a guy called Andy Dawson, Curium Solutions. He's quite big on LinkedIn, actually. And he said to me, they're not failures, they're not mistakes, they're learns. And that's in his business. That's their narrative. So they'll articulate hardship, financial downturn, whatever, as a learn. And then how do you take advantage of that learn? You know, I don't wish anyone unwell. And I hope these failures aren't that they're losing houses and all that sort of stuff. But even if you do, there's a learn, something's triggered that failure. And how do you put that right moving forwards?
Absolutely.
It's not the most inspiring of advices, but genuinely, I just try and remember that everyone learns because we fail. And we are only human.
100%. I'm going to bring it back a little bit now to Big Brother.
Okay, thought you would.
Because I'm sure that's what everybody's dying to know, like the nitty gritty of exactly what happened there.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, that must have been such an insane experience, right? Like, talk me through it. How does it even? How did it even work? I mean, I don't think Big Brother's running anymore.
No, it's not. It's not. But so when I did it, I was fortunate, and I use that word not lightly, because I genuinely do think I was fortunate to do it at the time that I did. It was Big Brother 3. So it was 3 years in. It was huge, absolutely huge. But it was still a social experiment. Like, you'll see, well, my opinion is that a lot of these reality TV shows now, people are doing it for, for the million followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I probably would have got 1 million followers on Instagram if social media was about, because I certainly had 1 million votes to leave the show. Yeah. And that's genuine, by the way. But yeah, I think it was still, I wouldn't have got into the Love Islands of this world, for many reasons. So yeah, I was certainly going to play a part within that social experiment. And that was evident through how long it took me to get on the show. It was like 13 stages.
Wow.
From psychometric testing to interviews with my friends to, I was going down to London every Wednesday. I was so lucky because, long story cut short, my best friend Liam, who's also very successful, a lot of people can learn from him because he's failed a lot and now he owns 2 McLarens, he's doing all right.
Wow.
Yeah, great guy. His mum was a massive fan of Big Brother, like avid, like kept spreadsheets of who voted who. And literally she applied on my behalf almost, so I had an application form come through. I filled it in, did my video. I had to do a video at that time as to why I wanted to go on Big Brother. I joked about I wanted to snog Natalie and Brulia and go to the Met Bar and all that sort of stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, and after all these stages, mostly Wednesday nights or Wednesday days. And on Wednesday, I had law school off. So it was perfect for me. They'd take me down to London, do X, Y, and Z. It was a really good experience, really good fun. And then when they asked me to do it, and according to the book that was released, I was the first guy they asked to join the crew. Because you get like a note saying you're either going to be a reserve or in the house.
Right.
And literally you're going to be coming into the house if you're successful within a week. So you have to I had to phone law school to see if they were right. I was joining a big firm in London. And I said, look, I'm going on Big Brother. What do you think? And they were like, fine. Like, you're not a lawyer yet. You're not governed by all the professional conduct rules. Just go and have fun.
Yeah.
I was nervous, but look, Big Brother allowed you 3 sort of opportunities to hear news. One of them I decided was any death in the family I wanted to know about. Mm-hmm. 2, I can't remember the other one, but one was definitely, if it's going to affect my career, I wanted that law firm or any law society to give them a call and say, get him out.
Yeah.
Now I had none of those calls, so I was very lucky. So I just cracked on and enjoyed it. But yeah, it was amazing. Apparently 150,000 people applied and I got in. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, I don't know. Because if they were looking for a nice guy, brilliant. If they were looking for a bit of a div, well then not so brilliant.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a great time. Met some brilliant people who I'm friends with now, who have gone on to do some amazing things. Mm-hmm. Did a few things in the house I probably shouldn't have. Made my mum cry when I was evicted. One of the things that will stick with me forever. But mum and dad are very supportive, very open. I was in the car with my dad when the producer of Endemol at the time, who's now head of Sky Arts, Phil Edgar Jones, lovely guy, phoned me to ask me to do it. And my dad was just like, don't ever have a what if moment, just do it. And I'm so glad he said that to me, because if I hadn't, I would have had that what if moment forever.
Yeah, definitely. When you were in the, that whole thing where they kind of walk you. Yeah. You walk out and there's all that crowd. And you speak to Davina and then they take you in. Yeah. And then you walk into the house. Yeah. What was going through your head at that point? How did you feel?
I'm not sure. If I'm completely honest, it was a massive blur. Yeah. Jade, bless her, rest in peace. What a lovely lady she was. Mm-hmm. She had apparently alerted the press that she was going in. So we had to go down to this hotel for 3 days. This chaperone was getting all my food and we had to turn our phones off. So as it got close to me going in, every time I turned it on for an hour, the messages were getting even weirder and weirder. So during that time, there was all this subliminal advertising that was going out with my silhouette, PJ, Birmingham, all up on billboards. So everyone was like, all right, mate, you going on Big Brother? And I couldn't reply or tell them. So when I was walking into the house, it was so bizarre because I just didn't know what to experience. I couldn't tell many people. I saw my mum and dad. We're a big, close family, and that made me quite upset. Yeah. And all of a sudden I was in this house, and I remember this smell. The smells that evoke so many memories. One of them being when I first went to school, and this smell that the Big Brother house smelt of, I'll never forget. And when I smell it, I think it's lavender. It just evokes so many good feelings. Yeah. But I saw a guy that I'd done my first interview with, like Lee. I was like, all right, mate. And a few other people had met others during their journey. Yeah. So yeah, it was just madness, you know, and literally within a heartbeat, you forget that the cameras are there. Oh, literally, you know, they're present. You know, you can see them. After about 10 minutes, you know, at the time I always went commando. I pulled my shorts, jeans down to run into the pool, and obviously I completely forgot I had nothing on. I was on my own, thank God, but the camera quickly, you know. So yeah, it was a bizarre experience, very surreal, but equally very real. Yeah, you know, I'm privileged to have done it, I think.
Definitely, because I always thought that watching, because I was watching them way back when as well, and I always thought to myself, do they know that, like, are they consciously like aware that the cameras are constantly on them?
No, you do. I mean, there were times when, because say the rules or the advice you get when you go in, before you go in, you say, look, if you want to do anything obvious, and I won't say what that is, but you know, sex or whatever else it might be. Yeah. The more obvious you do it, the less we can show.
Right.
So, you know, be quite liberal in your actions if you really need to. I can't really frame what I'm trying to say very well, but you know, if you go to the toilet, you know, be open, because we're not going to film. We'll film that. You're always on. So during your time, everyone has one camera on them all the time. So if they'll catch me snoring, they'll catch me blowing off, they'll catch me saying that I love you, or whatever it might be. So they're never going to miss anything. But then you completely forget that's happening. Right. So weird. You press yourself up the window and you'll see a guy with a camera. Look, my word. So yeah, as I said, like there's moments of absolute, it's like, what the hell? And then more moments of quite normality, to be fair. You know, the first 10 days, imagine me and you spending some time in a house on our own. First 10 days, we could talk forever, you know, family, friends, loves, whatever it might be, sport. But when you are doing that for a certain period of time and the stimulus from outside is stopped, so you can't talk about the recent Birmingham City match or EastEnders, whatever it might be, you run out of things to say. So that's when arguments start, that's when fatigue sets in, that's when self-reflection starts. And that's when the journey became very difficult, because you felt very isolated. Yeah. England were playing in the World Cup at the time, and I purposely used to sit in the garden just desperately hoping someone would like shout over the result. So yeah, it was just really, really surreal. When you come out of the show, you actually realise how close Elstree Studios is to a housing estate. Because I used to get up, I can't sleep very well at the best of times. And me and my mate at the time, Spencer, we used to get up in the morning, cut the eggs, whatever it might be. Yeah. And we'd always have this one guy clearly going to work. He'd wake up. He used to be on live at that time, Big Brother. Yeah. And if he swore or said something, you know, inappropriate, they'd get the birds tweeting or the chickens, whatever. And this guy used to every morning, PJ, you beep, you know, like just for a laugh. You could imagine him telling his mates at work, Elstree Studios, like in my back garden. I'd just have a go at PJ every morning. So when you come out of it, you realise actually you're in the throes of normal life, whilst you're living this very surreal one. But yeah, as I said, I was very, very lucky. I'm still good friends with Alison Hammond. You know, she's going from strength to strength. Yeah, brilliant lady. And I think one of the reasons why she's so brilliant is because she's been so true to herself. She's so exactly the same person I ever met. Kate Lawler, she's very successful. Yeah, Johnny. Yeah, so I've got some really good friends out of it. Really good friends, and that above everything else is really important to me. You know, I made a decent amount of money that I didn't use wisely, if I'm honest. But I was young, and you know, I've certainly got some stories to tell the grandkids. Yeah, amazing. Yeah. And what was it like, kind of once you came out of that, and you were then, because it doesn't just end there when you come out of the house, does it? There's so much kind of press that you're having to be involved with. Yes. What was that like? Mental. You know, I went in PJ, came out PJ, but then everyone knew me. People had ideas about me. Yeah. I was very lucky. Like, my experience after the house was, I'd say out of 100, like 99 points. You know, it was amazing compared to some of the people that, you know, I was at dinner with one guy who, you know, someone had tried to punch him, and some people was spat at and all that sort of stuff. I was very fortunate. Everyone was really nice to me. Yeah. but yeah, you're expected to live in this world that, you know, people expect you to know and you don't.
Yeah.
People come and ask me for my autograph like all the time. People queuing up to just talk to me, being on the front of this magazine, the front of that magazine, going to this event, going to that event. It was crazy. But equally, we had a decent amount of support. The show supports you for a period of time. They set you up with an agent and all that.
Right.
It's bizarre even saying that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was amazing. You know, I had some good friends that stuck with me. I thought I had some good friends that didn't so much. You know, I think whether that's jealousy or not, I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, it was just crazy. As I said, I've probably got a long list of things I could tell you that would sound really bizarre, but equally they happened. So it was amazing. It was amazing. You see a lot of good in people, and you see a lot of bad in people in that sort of world.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine how difficult that is for the likes of the celebrities and the reality TV stars of today.
Yeah.
I didn't have people cursing me on Instagram.
Yeah.
I didn't have people telling me what their opinions were for no reason on Twitter.
Gosh,
so I was very fortunate in that regard. You know, and part of me thinks, I wonder what it's like to have 1 million followers and get paid to brush my teeth, you know, with all the brands.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what's it like to having a lady called Suzanne from Newcastle telling me how much she hates me? Do you know what I mean? I don't know a Susan from Newcastle, by the way, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
But yeah, so in that regard, I got everything I think I wanted out of an experience like that. I came out of it unscathed to a point. I had a bit of a kiss in there with a lady. I did what most people do at a Christmas party, but in front of 15 million people. You know, it's one of them, yeah?
Love it.
And I got through that, apart from my mum being upset and my dad making sure, be a gentleman before Davina McCall was interviewing me.
Yeah.
But as I said, I got everything out of the experience I wanted. And I think more because I didn't get the experience that people are getting now. Yeah, fair enough, they're getting millions of pounds and all that sort of stuff. But that certainly wouldn't have been the direction I wanted to go in.
Yeah.
You know, my intention was to go, you know, Big Brother was going to finish in the May or whatever it might be. I had a job starting in September. It was always my intention, even if I won the show, I was going to be a lawyer and start in September. That didn't work out because I had so many opportunities. It was ridiculous. But the law firm at the time was really understanding. They said, look, just go and have a sabbatical, do what you need to do, enjoy it. I mean, they didn't give me another 2 years off when I asked for it. So I had to leave that one where it was. But yeah, as I said, I had 3 years of fun, living the life that was new to me.
Brilliant.
Very much so. You know, we're a working class family. My dad did very, very well towards the end of his career and retired a lot earlier than most.
Yeah.
But we're working class, you know, but I was living a lifestyle of someone that was rich and famous.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't rich and famous, but I was certainly living the lifestyle of that.
Yeah.
And it was, as I said, it was eye-opening.
You can tell that you're very close to your family, and you've got obviously a very close-knit family. And you've mentioned your mum and dad a few times. Obviously, they're very important to you.
Yeah.
What is it that you would say that your mum or your dad or both of them have taught you that has kind of shaped who you are today? What's one bit of advice?
Well, we've got like an Irish blood, and they are always family first, you know. My mum and dad's advice to me, and my sister and my brother, they've always brought us up to just be nice people, you know, genuinely try and be nice, you know, watch your P's and Q's. We were Catholics, you know, so, you know, make sure that you don't swear. I mean, sorry, Mum, I do swear sometimes, but, you know, and be honest, hardworking, nice people. And I know that sounds a bit corny, but I do try and live to that advice as much as I can. My dad's advice, which was his dad's advice, never I got to meet any of my grandparents, unfortunately, but was use this, son, not this. Now, I'm not too sure that applies as much now, but that always made me think that, you know, from a strategic point of view, sometimes, you know, talking is better than fighting. Yeah. You know, thinking is better than writing. You know, whatever it might be, that's not necessarily true. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, apart from that advice, it was always just be nice, or I'll give you a clip round the ear, and that's worked really well. I like to see my brother's really successful, but he's a detective inspector, so I can't keep up. He's winning all these awards and stuff. My sister's a teacher. Cool. You know, they've all got lovely families. You know, so. Yeah, and mum and dad are still knocking about, just lovely. Well, I know this sounds really morbid, but I know, and I don't want this to happen, but it will, unfortunately. When mum and dad go, I can guarantee they'll have the whole community there supporting them. My dad used to be the football manager as a kid. Mum used to have all my mates used to go around my house when I went in there. You just walk in, open the fridge. All right, Marion, how are you? Get the milk. That sort of like, come in. There's always food on the table for you if you need it. She put friends up in her house when they needed it. They're real good standing people in our community, and they're very, very much loved. And I think that hopefully came through to me and my brother and sister.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
I'm very
really
lucky.
Amazing.
I'm very lucky.
100%.
A lot of my mates, say the majority of my mates, have come from a broken family, not necessarily bad, just their parents are divorced and all that sort of stuff. And mine didn't. Mum may have wanted to a few times, but she didn't get around to it.
Oh, gosh, it sounds like my mum and dad. They've got a relationship where they'll argue a lot.
Yeah.
But they've been together for like 48 years.
Yeah.
And
I think if you don't argue, you've lost something.
Something's not right.
Yeah, there's got to be energy around there to still want to fight.
100%.
No, so you're very lucky too then.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny actually, because I see there's a lot of resemblance between Irish families and Jamaican West Indian families, because obviously my dad's Jamaican.
Yeah.
And what you've just said is very kind of resonates with me in terms of my dad's parents, in terms of the way they were.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a big Jamaican community in Birmingham, isn't there?
Yeah.
So, and my dad was around that community a lot as a kid, Jamaican, Irish community. You'd never think that two would merge as well as it did. They're very family oriented. Always got the food on the go.
Absolutely.
Love a good bit of reggae and music and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You show me a Birmingham social club without not playing Bob Marley or UB40, that sort of stuff. It's all like Jamaican like coolness.
It is,
and that is born out of family values, I think.
Yeah.
I've got some of my best memories with like Jamaican families, because we had Jamaican families play for our local football team. Yeah. Goat curry, jerk chicken, all that sort of stuff. I know it all comes back to food, doesn't it?
It does, though, but that's
family,
what,
isn't it? That's what it is. You break bread, don't you? You open up, you laugh together, you cry together.
Yeah.
I can certainly see that.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, PJ.
Awesome.
Seriously, it's been amazing. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
No, you're more than welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I've really enjoyed it.
So don't forget, guys, to hit the like and subscribe button before you leave us. Obviously, there's going to be loads more content coming your way. And so stay tuned for that. And hope you've enjoyed this podcast like we have. We've definitely enjoyed it. So thanks so much, PJ.
You're welcome, mate. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Cheers.